In this video, I'm going to talk about what it takes to be a successful analyst in 2021, and we're going to get started right now. So this question came in from Shashank Putran, and basically he's asking, can you please tell me, as to be an analyst, what other courses should I do? If there's anything else on Udemy, and I kind of got thinking, and I've had this I actually have this conversation quite a bit of like the skills that you need. Typically, what happens is when I work with a lot of younger people or people just getting into the industry or doing career changes, or they go, I kind of want to be an analyst, but I don't know where to start. Um, I get into those conversations a lot. So I thought I would do a video on that and try and help a lot of people just getting into the industry. I'll give you just a little background of like how I got to where I am today before I get into the point. So I am not a trained analyst. I didn't go to school for computer science or data or anything like that. I actually started off as an engineer. We did a tiny, and when I say tiny, I mean tiny bit of programming. It was not the focus. The focus was engineering. So the programming that I did do there isn't exactly the programming I do now. So I went from doing engineering for several years to going, I don't really want to do that anymore. I want to do something else. And it was sort of like I didn't really have any choice because I didn't really have any other skills beyond engineering, except the fact that I had some, and I would say if I met myself now, it was like beginner to intermediate Excel skills self-taught. So nothing crazy or remarkable. But what I've come to learn after doing data now for about, what is it now? I would say 5 years, maybe a little bit longer, 5-ish years, is that very little of being a very successful analyst is actually about your technical skill. People think that it's like, well, I don't know Excel very well, or I don't know SQL, or I don't know C++, or I don't know any of that stuff. Those skills, that's probably only 20% of the problem. To be a really successful analyst is the other 80%, which is probably more important. All right. And this is the other 80%. With the 20% of technical skills, my recommendation for that is anything you're already doing with Microsoft Excel, anything that, for example, you already have spreadsheets or you're working with other people in spreadsheets, to upskill in there instead of just taking courses of learning generic functions, look at that Excel file and go, how can I make that little piece run faster? Or how can I make that a little bit more efficient? And just have a play and start figuring out, or just send it to certain people and say, can you have a look and give me some recommendations? And then you learn what you need for that particular job or for that particular project. I never found just learning things for the sake of learning it, but no application to actually be worthwhile, because you don't really truly learn how it works until you have to apply it in real life. So that's that 20%. So now I'm going to talk about the 80%, and I'm probably going to devote maybe 1 or 2 minutes to each of these points out of the 5. So let's begin with the first one. Stakeholder management. This is probably one of the most important. Whenever you build things, most of the time you're building for someone else. And the worst experience as a customer on the customer side is someone comes and goes, hey, I'm going to help you fix your problem. You're like, fantastic. You see them on one day, they spend a little bit of time with you, and then you don't see them for like 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, they come back and go, I've solved it. Here are the results. The problem with that is the results could be completely fine. They could be completely accurate. But that person didn't bring me along the journey. Like, I don't even know, like, there's no trust, right? So you got to build that rapport and that trust with who you're building for, so they trust what you're doing. They're along for their journey. They know what you've done, kind of roughly how you're going about it, so that when the results finally came out, their customer feels like, oh, that's my solution. I was there. I saw it being built. I know how it works. I know how they went about it. I had my input. I trust the results. Great. I am happy, right? So you really want to make sure your stakeholder or your sponsor is heavily involved. And that could mean almost over communication, because the worst is under communication. You want to always over communicate, even if they don't reply to your emails or they just ignore you, whatever. Just keep communicating. I did this today. I'm doing this tomorrow. We should still be good for deployment in 2 weeks or whatever. Just keep them updated. All right, the next one is understanding also how to go about solving things. So this is kind of getting into consulting, the development cycle, and that is the mistake I see is there's a problem that a customer says, "Oh, I'm struggling with this." And then the person designing it, the analyst, is usually over eager. So they just start creating solutions, right? Far too quickly. Slow down. The most important thing for this stage, and probably I would say 70 or 80% of it, is your requirements gathering. Slow down, spend some time with them, really listen to their problem. Don't just come in, it's like, oh, this is how you do that, this is how you solve it. Just shut up, just listen. Just listen to their problem, get them to explain it, understand how their business works, understand their frustration. You kind of have to be in there with them and experience it so you truly know what they're going through, not just technically, but emotionally as well. I see this mistake too much from higher end IT in that they're so smart with their technical stuff. They don't really spend as much time as they should with the customer, right? I actually think your technical solution can suffer a little bit if it means your customer feels heard, if it means your requirements gathering is a little bit better, that when you do come up with a final solution, you build it for them, it's exactly what they asked for and they're happy with the solution. No point creating something fantastic if they're not happy with the solution or they didn't enjoy the journey, because that means next time they have an issue, they may not come to you for that particular solution. So make sure you bring them along. So, kind of in a nutshell, the way you do your consultation, and it kind of goes into the next point. You gather your requirements, you put a working prototype together so that they can actually see the process in action, and they go, "Oh, I get what you mean now." Because sometimes the people requesting it don't know anything about data, don't know anything about techie stuff, but when they see a solution happen, they can go, "Oh, I get what you're trying to do," right? The third one is user acceptance testing, or in the industry, we call it UAT. And basically, it's giving it to them to try it, right? It's sort of like, when your kids are like, Dad, can we get a puppy? Can we get a puppy? That's user acceptance testing. You're giving them the puppy to try out the puppy. And if they're happy with it, like, Dad, can we keep the puppy? Right? So deployment is kind of that, which is basically like, okay, cool. They love the puppies. Okay, take the puppies. Cool. You've deployed your solution. And then you can kind of go back. So this kind of leads me to the next point, which is your agile development process, which I'm not going to go into much detail about this because there's just so many videos online about agile, how important it is in IT. Learn how it works, and understand that you should be able to go back to your requirements if your prototype, for example, wasn't quite on point. If your customer goes, oh, that's not quite what we want, okay, go back to your requirements, fix the prototype. Okay, you get through it. Okay, prototype's good. Go to your UAT. Oh, well, the experience isn't that great. Okay, go back to your requirements. Like always kind of going back, making sure the customer, right, or your client is getting exactly what they want. They're part of the journey. Communication is there, right? All right, so this is kind of touching on that 20% I mentioned earlier, which is you do want to get pretty good at Excel. And the main reason is even though it's not, the highest tech, right, in Excel, in data, it is probably the most common data tool on the planet, right? So it's like the most common language we all communicate through. So even if you're using like, for example, cloud-based solutions like AWS, or you're using servers or anything like that, or you're outputting from massive systems as CSV, a lot of it is done through Excel. The other thing is when you work with a lot of people who aren't data people, what tool are they going to use? Most likely Excel. So Excel is our way of communicating to a very broad audience. Where you take it from there is up to you. You want to take it to database or whatever, that's great. But in this part, try and always find small ways to improve your Excel skills. If you want to take courses, that's the way you learn, great. Or you have a particular dashboard that you're, a spreadsheet that you're not happy with, talk to people, share with them. You'll be surprised that when you're working for a company, particularly a big one, there are some Excel geniuses, but you never know unless you ask or unless you look for them. And I've met them where they're just freaks. And these are the people you can learn from. Spend time with them and just ask them, how can I be better? Show me some tricks or, something like that. And then kind of an add-on to that is learn some basic MS Access. And I'm probably going to get in trouble for this one, but the main reason I say that is because if you do Microsoft Access, number one, you'll learn how SQL works. Even the most basic, you'll learn how joins work. You'll learn how databases work. You'll learn how data types are important and storage and queries. And that is kind of a really good stepping stone for if you're like an Excel person purely and you want to kind of get into the more higher end technology. Microsoft Access, for me, in my experience, was like that software where I was like, oh, I get programming now, or I get databases, or now I can get into Python, or now I can get into visualizations and all that. Excel is kind of limiting in certain respects, so you really need to get into start doing MS Access and learning some of those basic skills. And the last one, and this is one I get a lot, and I'm kind of, I don't want to say sick of hearing it, but it seems to be a massive, I guess is the word, inhibitor for people, in that they'll go, oh, I want to get into analytics, or I want to start consulting, or I want to start helping people and all that, but my communication skills aren't so good, or I'm not good talking to people, or I'm not good in crowds, or I'm not good at public speaking. Okay, cool. Everyone has issues at one point or another talking publicly or in groups or to even individuals one on one. But if you start off the story with I can't, I won't, I'm not good at, or I've never, or you've already said I quit. Okay, so you need to rephrase your issues, which is, instead of saying, "Oh, I can't," or "I've never," it's like, "Okay, what can I do to be better? What can I change? What exercises can I do? Do I practice with certain people?" Right? Sometimes it's about just calling a friend up and say, "Hey, can we just practice me presenting to you?" Or pick a few people, bring them into an office, and be like your close friends, and say, "Can I practice?" Truth of the matter is, soft skills and presentation skills, those are learnable skills. Learnable, right? You can master them. There's so much content online and videos and YouTube on like how to do it and present yourself and all that. There is no excuse. You need to be able to have good soft skills, communication skills, in order to do any of this stuff. Because there's no point if you're just the genius in the corner that nobody knows about. It's sort of like if you think of a shopping center and one of the shops has like an amazing product, but it's hidden in a corner somewhere in the shopping center. No one's ever going to see it. No one's ever going to notice it. No one's ever going to go there. And you could be complaining in the back. It's like, yeah, but I'm so good. I'm so good. But if no one knows you exist, or you're not putting yourself out there, you've got no chance. Okay. So I'm not going to talk any more about this stuff, but if there's other topics you want me to cover, or you want me to elaborate on certain things, or you're actually going through something and you don't know kind of how to get past that barrier, drop me a comment and I'm happy to talk about it, or give you some advice maybe, and we'll go from there. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time.